All right, let's begin. Hi, everyone. I know all of us are, except for Rajay and me, of course, we're not on video. If I can ask if it's possible for all of you all to come on video, it would be great to have a conversation with, faces on the screen rather than just names. But first of all, let me just introduce myself. I'm Samuel Stephen. I'm from the B School Hiring and Engagement team. Very excited to be with all of you all and looking forward to a thrilling fortnight ahead, for all of us who've registered for the case study competition. First things first, big thank you to all of you for attending this webinar, and a bigger thank you for all of you all who, have registered for the case study competition. We are, happily, we're surprised and, extremely excited at the excitement that all of you all have shown. And we honestly can't wait to kickstart this. So just so that you all know what's coming, we have Ajay Nahar. We'll get to his introduction in just a bit. And he will share his thoughts and his tips on, how to make a winning submission for case study competitions. Keep your questions coming on chat, either here, and all of you all who are watching on the platform. There's a Q&A space there to keep those questions coming in. We will have some time at the end where Ajay answers some of those questions. But before that, I just want to introduce the competition. The first, the registrations go until the 11th. Our first round is on the 12th, and after which there will be a couple of more rounds. But what's the most exciting about this competition, and this is like the most thrilling part, is that we would like to simulate real world scenarios where you're handed ownership of outcomes by working in teams where the other person may not be your friend, may not be your acquaintance, may not be someone whom you know. And then based on the first round results, we'll put together teams from different colleges, from across institutes. Here you get to meet peers that are across institutes, go through the rest of the rounds together, and maybe win together. So even if you didn't win, you won friendships, and that's something that Wipro wants all of you all to take away. All right, so jumping into the webinar, and we're extremely thrilled to have Ajay join us. Ajay is a leader at Wipro Insights and has 20 years of experience in the knowledge domain. In his role, he is responsible for creating a knowledge DNA within the organization and infuse the culture of using research, analysis, and knowledge management within the organization. In his stint prior to Wipro, he was the head of the research function at EY Global Delivery Services, where he led a 300+ strong team of researchers, analysts, and knowledge managers spread across 6 centers in India, Argentina, and Poland. Prior to joining EY, Ajay worked with McKinsey Knowledge Center for 2 years as a research analyst, supporting McKinsey banking consultants on client pursuits and engagements. Ajay also, and you'll be thrilled to know that Ajay is also a budding business coach and helps mid-senior managers evolve into senior leadership roles. So we're excited to have you, Ajay, talk to us and give us tips on how to make winning submissions to case study competitions. And the floor is all yours, Ajay.
Thank you, Samuel, and thank you to all the students who are here. As I'm looking at the windows in front of me, I see primarily students from JBIMS over there. Is that right? And I see some people from SCMHRD.
And a lot of them,
well.
sorry, Ajay, and a lot of them are viewing the content on the Incubate Hub platform.
All right. Okay. Fantastic.
And it's be on LinkedIn Live too.
Oh, great. Right. So it's absolutely fabulous to interact with all of you, and I don't intend to keep this as a monologue. Let's have a two-way conversation about this. And first, let's just spend some time talking about why is a competition like this important in the life, of a student. I'm sure some of you would have participated in contests like these from other companies as well, while for some, it may be a first-time opportunity. And let me tell you, in the last decade or so, the industry engagement for a number of business schools has gone up, and that's how some of these competitions, have come about. And that, I think, it's a phenomenal opportunity. While there used to be competitions earlier as well, which were either sports and games oriented or some quizzes, or there were some random case study competitions as well. But I think the quality and the level of competition that we now see has really gone up several notches. And I must tell you that going through the journey in a contest like this really helps a student in their overall learning program. What you learn in your B school from your professors, from your peers, of course, plays an important part. But I cannot undervalue the importance, of something like this, where you really get to work on a problem which is close to real life, as close to real life as we can make it, which is inspired, from some true events, from some true situations, without really infringing on anyone's proprietary information or copyright, but really making sure that we keep it as meaningful and as close to real life, real business life as we can, for you. So as the competition moves forward, from 12th, the first round is going to be a multiple choice questionnaire, and I don't need to talk more about it. All of you, who got up to these levels in your business schools are all champions, who have aced, such multiple choice questionnaires in the past. Though I must say that it is still going to be a little different. This is not going to be anything like, a CAT questionnaire, maybe a couple of notches, a few notches above CAT in terms of complexity. But we will, see how that kind of comes along, and I'm sure, you will enjoy that as well. The important part, what I am here to speak to you about today is this case study round. And while more details, will come your way in due course, but I must tell you that you have a very exciting case of an IT services company that you will see. And it's a company that's been promoted by one Mr. Naidu. Company is called WizSoft, an IT services company. And as I said, a company that he's built over, the last 5 decades, brick by brick. Now, I don't want to steal the thunder of the case too much, but I think giving you a little background over here is important. So this company has had a stellar history, of performance, and it's grown very well in the last 5 decades, of its existence. But it's now, struggling for growth over the last, few years. And it's struggling to identify what is going to be its next growth engine. Now, our protagonist, Mr. Naidu, has 2 children, both of whom are very differently driven, and very capable. Vikram, who is a technocrat and heads the engineering services division of the company, wishes to set up a semiconductor chip manufacturing facility in India. And we all know that there is an ongoing shortage, of that for a number of sectors right now. And on the other hand, you have the daughter, Sonia, who is more right-brained for the creative kinds, and wants Mr. Naidu to set up an internet search engine and set up an ecosystem around that internet search engine, like Google. Now, Both of these companies require very different levels of investment, require different people, not just the numbers, but also the capabilities. And the ask of you will be to build a business plan that either Sonia or Vikram should present in front of Mr. Naidu and his senior management team on whose idea should take form. So you have to assume the role of either Sonia or Vikram, in a sense that you either have to pitch for setting up that semiconductor chip manufacturing facility, or set up our very own internet search engine, or that internet ecosystem that is similar to what Google has. So while you will get more details on the case at a later stage in the competition, I just want to share some thoughts with you as we are here today as a group. And while a number of the case related details will be made clear when you read it, from my own experience in participating in some of the such competitions from my days, and how I look at it as a potential evaluator, here are some thoughts that I would like to share with you. First and foremost, I'm sure whether it is for a similar objective or for a slightly different objective, you all would have dealt with situations like these where you have to develop a business plan, and that business plan is pitched to a set of people. I'm sure everyone has seen Shark Tank over here, and you are familiar with the concept of preparing a business plan. But what there is, of course, going to be some difference in what let's say some angel investors in Shark Tank will look at vis-a-vis how an established company like Wipro and Mr. Naidu as its promoter will look at. So just bear in mind some of that difference, because the evaluators here are not just going to look at what's going to give me financial returns in the next few years. We are looking for sustainability. We are looking at setting up something greenfield of our own, and something that can really be made scalable, that can remain sustainable for the organization and can generate long-term value. So one key advice that I would have, and while it really is a no-brainer, and it goes without saying in such situations, is that before you jump in to thinking which role will you take and what will be your recommendation, take a lot of time, at least first 2-3 hours, to go through the case study in as much detail as you can. Read it at least 4 or 5 times and make sure you understand the asks of the two scenarios very well. And before you, as I said, before you jump to either side, just make sure you thoroughly evaluate the pros and cons in your groups, because things will certainly not be as straightforward as they seem. There are going to be like any business case has, like any such situation has, there are some twists and turns involved, and we would like you to pick them up. And what I would also say is, based on either your past background, your experiences, your own familiarity with the subject, and again, irrespective of whether you take Vikram's role to recommend a semiconductor plant or Sonia's role, it's not about which market or industry that you have the maximum information on, or that you feel most comfortable with. Choose the option that you believe as a businessman, it makes most sense, and the one in which you feel the company must put its heart and soul. After all, it's not about our own familiarity, our own comfort with the subject. It's about real money. It's about money that a company needs to make, and it needs to invest. And you need to be convinced about it first before you take a position. One idea that I'm going to suggest you to follow is around a structured business problem-solving approach. Use a problem-solving network framework that it's quite easily available. It's quite easily to follow. I follow something which is called as SOLVE. It's SOLVE. S stands for state, wherein you state, articulate, understand, the problem, and make sure you put all the facts, on the table. Second is O, which stands for organize. Having all the facts in place is important, but organizing them in the right manner is equally critical. You might have heard of a pyramid principle. Being from McKinsey, I follow that all the time, even though it's been years and years since I left that organization. But I feel, following their pyramid principle, where you state the key problem or the key hypothesis at the top, then you make 3 key arguments or 3 key supporting statements under that level, and then you have data that is supporting each of those 3 arguments, at that next level. So make sure you follow something similar. It's not to say that one organization's framework is better or the best compared to everyone, but these are just some ideas, for you, because you are going to come across a lot of information, more from your own research and some amount of it, from the case as well. So make sure that you don't lose sight of, that information, and you organize, yourself very well. Organize yourself also means distributing tasks amongst your team members. And again, this is, no lecture session on how to work, as a team. You all are well familiar, around that. But I would just like to underscore the importance of distributing, the tasks and making sure that each and every member in the team has a role that they know, what it is, and it is not duplicative with what someone else is doing. It complements, everyone's strengths coming together, and then you work towards, a common goal. The L in Solve, it's a framework that I use, stands for analyze, and it's just to L is being made, from analyze, as just to make sure that the acronym remains rememberable, and you analyze the information that you have. You question the so what of everything that you come across. Assume nothing. Take nothing, for granted. I must say, as I said, that there are some layers of, hidden, I would say, gems that are available over there. There are certain nuances that you need to analyze as a team, and make sure that you are brainstorming as a group, and you keep a dedicated time for brainstorming, rather than just making it as a compilation of what 4 or 5 people put together as a group. I think that's really the power of working together as a team. This is what you're going to do, by the way, when you come up to work in organizations like Wipro. You don't just compile what 5 different people have done together. You make sure that you discuss what is in your head, what is in your mind, and if that is not coming out in the slides or the material that you put together, you are really bringing that as a common coherent story. So keep some time for that brainstorming exercise. Make sure you manage your time well, and you keep up to the timelines of the case study submission date. B is verify, and verify means you challenge. You challenge and you try and pick loopholes in your work. You try and pick up gaps in your storyline. And before you let the evaluators or anyone else do that, you either do it yourself, or you get some of your friends from other teams, or if you don't want to share it with other teams, you can share it with colleagues who are not participating in this competition, to really be your devil's advocate and help you verify. Do that peer check. Those peer reviews, I can tell you, help immensely. And E is evaluate. And evaluate is something that you look at the question that was given to you at the beginning of the competition, the response that you have put together now, and whether you feel happy with the result, with the outcome that you have over there, or would you like to revisit some of the steps? If you are not clear in your mind, and if you are not convinced about any aspect, any argument in your story, I can bet you will not be able to convince the evaluators as well. So that's about solving, the problem. We've still not come to the presentation of the problem. We're still at the problem solving, approach. So feel free to use, this framework, like Solve. McKinsey has, another problem solving framework, which, they call as a 8-step problem solving approach. And if I have access to the chat room here, let me just try and pasting the link. Yes, this is another way to do it, where you form the hypothesis and then you try and validate this hypothesis. So feel free to choose, one or other framework, but use a structured problem solving framework will be my tip to you. Now, when you solve the problem and you have the entire solution either in front of you in a semi-organized manner or in a haphazard manner also, but it's still not presentable. It's an unpresentable but solved problem. Now you look at how you're going to present it. And I would again say that presentation of your solution is a very, very critical part. I can also probably say that it is the most important part of it, but along with problem solving, it's a very, very important part of your case. So again, look at some best practices around how you solve your case, and then how you present your outcomes. I use a framework which I fondly call it as CTQR. It's called context, trigger, question, and response. And you might be thinking, why am I telling you all these frameworks, and why am I only talking in a framework language? Well, that's largely because of the consulting background that I have, and as consultants, we love throwing jargon, we love throwing frameworks at people. I think, besides that, I think it's a good way to organize and present your ideas. So I use a framework called CTQR, which essentially talks about on one single page, on a single slide, you talk about the context. Context is essentially your facts of the case, the background of the situation, things that no one can dispute, right? So this is about why, what's the background of the situation, what's the background of the company, or why are we all, here in this meeting room. The trigger is the immediate issue or the problem that we are trying to resolve. So again, in 2 or 3 lines, you try and articulate the key problem or the key issue that we are trying to address. And while it's simple enough to say that we want to achieve growth, for this company Wipro, but of course, if you can make it more impactful than that, give it more color, give it more comprehensiveness, than just saying you want to grow this company, it is going to work in your favor. Then, Q stands for question, but before talking about the question, I want to talk about R, which is response. Response is essentially the key recommendation or the key solution that you have put together. Now, in this case, not just the choice between those 2 options, but why are you recommending one out of those 2 options? And you provide, again, that solution in just 2 or 3 lines, very simple, very crisp, but very comprehensive by itself. And before R, as I said, is Q, which stands for question. And that's essentially the exam question that the company or the individual is facing. So while again, it seems simple enough on what the question is in front of us, but it's not so simple. So how do you articulate, that question is also an art. And asking the right questions, I'm sure you all would have heard about it, is really as important as answering, that question itself. So that's how C, T, Q, and R, if you just put 2, 3 lines, on a simple slide. I use that a lot of times, and I just thought might be helpful, for you. Mind you, I may not, be the evaluator, so you don't really have to go with all of these frameworks just because I'm recommending this. This is not a Wipro, I would say, Wipro-wide accepted norm or a format. What I'm sharing with you is in my own personal capacity. And if you think it makes sense, for you, please use it. Please absorb it, understand it. If you think it doesn't make sense, or you find something else, to be better, feel free to use that. But very important to do this and then to revise. Then to revise, your submission before you actually, press the send button. So go through it, a couple of times. Try and be, your own critic, and try and pick, loopholes in what you've done as a potential evaluator, and be willing to look at it, from scratch as well. A lot of consultants, mind you, do that. The night before the presentation that is to be made to the clients, presentations get, thrown into the dustbin and made, right from scratch. So be willing to disrupt your own thinking as late as 1 or 2 days before. I'm not again suggesting that you have to do exactly the way a McKinsey, EY, or a Wipro consultant will do, but be open to that idea to disrupt yourself. I think you will feel much happier with the end product if you do that, and if you do that for the right reasons. So I'll pause here, folks. I hope some of these points that I've shared with you would be helpful. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Of course, you will get more details on the case, which will give you the necessary inputs that you need on the company and what the problem is. But anything else that you would like to ask about, how would an evaluator look at it? What works well, what doesn't? What are the best practices? If something like this, does it work? Does it not work? I'm happy to answer it for you here.
Thanks, Ajay. I do on the portal. There is one question that is here. The question is, as in, do we use any analytical tools while doing these submissions? And that question, I think, is asked. Yeah, it's repeated. So, are there any analytical tools that the students should use when they submit their case study? And for the rest of you all, feel free to send in the questions on this chat too, and I'm happy to moderate that for Ajay.
I think a very good question indeed, to start the Q&A round. And I think it entirely depends on the data that you're handling. If during your research, you come across a large amount of data and scrambled data, unorganized data, and you feel some analytical tools, are going to be beneficial, something like Python, which is very commonly used these days, can help. Feel free to use that, but absolutely not a mandate, from either Wipro or from my side that you must do that. But it entirely depends, on your comfort level with that tool and the information that you're dealing with.
Correct. The other question is, what kind of topics to cover, and how do we prepare for the MCQ round?
So for the MCQ round, I've seen some sample questions, and I must tell you, there is no specific preparation that you need to do. These are going to be logical questions that you would be expected to interpret on the spot. And again, what we are looking for over here is your ability to solve problems in a short span of time, right? So they do not require any prior prep, but yes, if you are just able to brush up on questions like these, which are based on analytical formats, quantitative reasoning, analytical reasoning, quantitative questions, I think that might help you, because it would probably be a few months or a year, more than a year in certain cases for you, who are in year 2 of your MBA, who would have probably brushed that last. So if you would like, you can do that. But I can also tell you that it's going to be application, there and at that point, and it's going to be, I would say, slightly higher in terms of complexity than what your typical CAT question is.
But there's one question in the chat that Kunal has asked. will there be business-related questions too in the MCQ round?
Which round? The MCQ
in the
round?
MCQ round.
Okay, I haven't seen that. Maybe Samuel, you might be able to answer that. I haven't seen anything on the business-related questions over there.
Yeah, I'm happy to. No, there isn't any business-related question. They're basically like how Ajay said, like you would do CAT exams, you would do logical reasoning, data interpretation, verbal. Those are the kind of questions that are there. And I just also wanted to tell everyone who's listening, who have access to the chat feature on the platform and over here, as in ask questions to Ajay based on how do you think the evaluators would look at this, and how is it that you can present the best way to the evaluators so that they're able to coherently understand what it is that you all are articulating through your presentation. And of course, then if you reach the next round, then there will be actual presentations that happen. So yeah, so I just wanted to leave that there. Any other questions?
Samuel, one additional thought that I would like to share here with everyone is don't look at cramming your slides, with a lot of information. Making those slides really black from all aspects and covering them entirely and not leaving any inch of white space visible or available over there, I would say is not the idea. As an evaluator / potential evaluator, I would say I value simplicity, and I value something which I can easily understand. So don't make it complex, make it simple, yet keep it comprehensive. And that's really where the challenge lies. We feel that, if you are going to put some very fancy framework, some very difficult to understand charts, they are going to look very jazzy. They are going to, make the evaluator happy. I would say that may not necessarily happen. So the simpler you keep it, and the more story coordinated you make, have a very nice coherent storyline. Tell a story which you would like the evaluator to understand. And in the first instance, of course, you're not going to have that opportunity of speaking through your story. So your slides have to speak for themselves. So make your slides speak on your behalf.
Thanks. There is one question on the chat here, which Ajay, I can take, which is, will we be provided with cohorts or mentors from Wipro for the case study? No, we don't intend to. Like I said earlier, we'll be putting you all in teams of folks from different institutes, and we will figure that based on the scoring that you guys have in your first round. And then we will be giving you all the case study in the second round for you all to work together as a team and then submit a presentation. And then if based on evaluations in the second round, we will finalize a few teams who will then present, and then for the finale we will have 7 teams present at the end to the Wipro leadership before we give out those awards. That's just to give you an outline of how the program plan looks like. Any other questions that any of you all have? All right, I guess that's it. Any last thoughts, Ajay?
No, I think it's been great to be here and talk to all of you. I hope this session has been of value to you. And some of the tips and tricks that I've shared will be of help as you progress further through this competition. Before I sign off, I would just like to say that along with the rest of the world, we at Wipro are celebrating October as a breast cancer awareness month. And we are doing our bit to spread awareness of breast cancer. We are celebrating 14th of October as Tech Day of the Pink. And we are really trying to create as much awareness that we can, through social media, through paid media, through any of the communication channels that we have. And we would like, all of you to also contribute, to this bit around you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for joining. If you all have any other questions, we could just pause for another 30 seconds. If not, wait for those notifications that will come on email from the platform. We will end registrations on 11th. Please do spread the word. And as the more number of people we have, the merrier it is. And of course, as the chance of meeting someone who you don't know, who's a friend from somewhere else, and the opportunities that come from networking is exciting, and hopefully all of you all will join in. So yeah, keep your eyes out on your emails, and look for the next notification. Until then, all the best.
Thank you, everyone, and wish you all the best.
Thank you. Wish you all the best too. Bye-bye.